Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 232, Mind Your Z's and Q's, recorded on January 6th, 2023 from Zenatta Consulting. I'm Tyler Colt.
And I'm Josh Oliver. Let's get right on into the show.
Alrighty, so yeah, astute viewers may have noticed here that my trusty companion Brett is out of office today. So we've got my other trusty companion here, Josh Oliver, our VP of Ops, taking up the mantle. Thanks for joining, Josh.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. So we've got two nerds in the room, so we'll try to keep it light for everybody. We won't get too into the nitty gritty as we like to do. But with that, let's get right on into our announcements and events. Alrighty, so a couple upcoming events here. So Thursday, January 12th at 11 a.m. Pacific. Looks like Zoho Writer Team is putting on a blog or a webinar around simplifying blogging. Interestingly, they've actually rolled out some integrations to tie in your writer docs to your web blog. So kind of an interesting one to go through. Of course, every January, we've got our annual tradition here. We'll be doing our full product overview of Zoho 1, which apps are good, which are okay, which you might want to skip, and what do they all do, right? So we get asked that a lot. So we like to cover that every year. And then it looks like throughout early February, Zoho will be doing a bunch of CX or customer experience workshops across the US. So one in LA, one in Chicago, and one in New York. Highly recommend those. Probably be covering CRM, desk, maybe some campaigns, but essentially everything that is customer facing in the world of Zoho. And I think that just about wraps it up. Always a little slow on events here early in the year. So with that, let's get right on into the news. Alrighty, so looks like first story here is just one of those quick wrap ups. I will highlight if you guys look at the show notes on the website or the newsletter that goes out, there were like, I don't know, like 15, 16 different 2020. We're not going to cover each and every one of those because we've covered most of those updates throughout the course of the year. But just check out for the newsletter if you'd like to see those. We did include this one here because it's just from kind of new things in December on Backstage. Couple updates here. I mean, anything kind of stand out on your side, Josh?
I guess most of these updates are just around the image management and some of the files on the back end of Backstage. So it allows you to they call it their gallery, and now you can bulk download and save some of those files in a few different spots. But I guess that's primarily the big updates within
Yeah.
December.
A little minor one too, some automatic reminder emails you can turn on, which never hurts, right? Like the webinar is upcoming, the show is upcoming. Let's, drip out a couple emails. So nothing too crazy there, but onward story here from the world of Zoho Invoice. This one has only shown up under Zoho Invoice, but it'll likely show up for Zoho Books here imminently. Generally, when one gets an update like this, they both do. And a lot of this is around kind of the look and feel and design of your templates, right? So we're talking about the PDFs for invoices, sales orders, each of those. So lots of new templates. Looks like we're adding background images. So you could, give someone a Merry Christmas wish while you send them their invoice. Makes
Most
it a little
people
more
don't like to pay
palatable.
invoices on Christmas, but maybe if you style it with a nice little banner, they'll more likely to pay.
Yeah, it doesn't, yeah, we'll see. Most AP teams are out of office for Christmas. But if they're not, you can customize it that way. Background colors, this is kind of nice. I mean, like any of these things, we do get this a lot from people that they love books, they love being able to invoice automatically through it, but the look and feel has always been a little bit limited. There's kind of some you can make a secret request and they will turn on HTML formatting, but a lot of people don't want to deal with that. So adding a lot of these new things like backgrounds, font management, additional kind of display options for your templates is really nice to have. Alrighty. Next one here coming from data prep, but it's also kind of an update for CRM as well. So this is like part news, part like walkthrough really around the ability to export data from Zoho Data Prep into Zoho CRM. Kind of the core idea behind this, right, is to build that data pipeline, right? So pull data into data prep, clean it up, normalize it there, and then push it over into CRM. You know, it's one of those interesting abstract data prep where, on its own, you don't have a ton of use cases for it on a day-to-day basis. But with some of these integrations, you could find a lot of value here in running things through it before it hits your system.
Yeah, and one really nice thing about data prep is you can make connections between different tables because when you're using data prep, you can import to multiple modules and then make those connections and do one import all at once. And then I
Yeah.
think one other update in data prep, if you scroll down, I believe there's an option to revert your import, which is a pretty important thing. That's yeah, one of the last rollback in case of errors. So that's an important one. Is now you can roll back in case there are some errors, and it gives you a list of those errors right there.
That's actually really nice. One thing with the normal CRM import is if you're running a create only, then you can roll it back, right? But if you're doing
Yeah,
anything that's updating, there's there's no rollback.
yeah,
So yeah, that's nice. Even just for like your day-to-day imports, you might want to run it through data prep,
hmm
just in case, right? I mean, obviously we double, triple check everything, but things happen, right? So being
hmm
able to do that rollback is really nice. They do. I will get the do a little PSA here. They did highlight at the bottom. This is still in the beta step or stage right now, so don't run anything critical through this right now. They are advising people play around with this, get ready to use it, but be aware that this is currently in beta. So just the little asterisks on that. All right, next story here coming from the world of Zoho Desk. Now, what they've enabled here is the ability to integrate Instagram direct messages into the social module of Desk, which essentially would create tickets for those messages. Um, this is one of those things. I mean, Josh, we don't do much on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter ourselves, but I would imagine that if you did, this would be super useful.
Yeah, let's say you have you're selling a product and you're marketing that and you're on your Instagram page and someone has a question. Now you can easily respond to that question straight from Zoho Desk as a ticket or just within the social tab. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a really nice, convenient way to group all of these customer interactions.
Yeah. They're doing a lot of work with Desk in general around just that idea of being really omni-channel, right? Like in an ideal world, right? Your customer service team or really anyone handling these types of inbound messages should only have to go to one place, right? Like
Yeah.
the challenge is I got to go to Desk and look at my tickets, then I got to go to Facebook and look at my messages there, then to Instagram and so on and so forth. I think some recent updates around like WhatsApp, Facebook and Twitter messages have been there for a little while. So kudos to the desk team. I mean, that's really the big goal, right? With any help desk is point every different channel there and make it that one home base that you can use. So
Yeah.
this is just kind of another feather in the cap, I guess, for the desk team.
Yeah.
Alrighty, next one here from ZeptoMail, an app that we haven't talked about in a little while here. It looks like pretty much what they've done is give it kind of a UI overhaul. I gave this a read through earlier and I didn't see anything in particular that's really like functionality driven, but it's really about your ability to navigate in ZeptoMail, dashboards for seeing your credit usage and what's going out the door, settings, integrations, a couple new features, right? So bounce categories. I think previously in ZeptoMail, interestingly, they didn't segment down different types of bounces. So now they're giving you more actionable insights around why something bounced, right? Like, is it your sender domain? Is it they've got a firewall on their side? Suppression as well. So automatic suppression, a little asterisk there for beta. Um, Suppression lists essentially just being that if somebody has bounced before, they should not receive more emails from you because they're going to bounce again. It's going to affect your sender domain. This is something pretty standard in most transactional mail platforms. Is this ability to suppress those bounces right out of the gate. And then lastly, Bubble.io. I don't know if you've ever played with Bubble.io, but it looks like they've just had an integration there to build, tie-ins for ZeptoMail. I don't know, Josh, on your side, like if you ever had a big use case for ZeptoMail yet, I've touched it
No,
here and there, but I haven't used it much.
no, I haven't, but I know Creator uses ZeptoMail on the back end for sending out their emails. And there
Hmm.
are some updates we'll talk about later with how that ties in. Um,
Got it.
but that's about the extent that I'm familiar with ZeptoMail.
Yeah. It's a cool platform. I mean, really for the listeners who haven't really played with it before, it's basically transactional mail sending, right? So when you're sending an email, there's two types, right? There's something that's marketing driven. You'd send that from campaigns. Something transactional, like a password reset, asking someone to book their kickoff call, right? Things like that can be sent transactionally. Just makes it more deliverable, but it does add kind of a set of rules in terms of what you can send through a platform like this. But yeah, as Josh is mentioning, this is actually like a tool that Zoho has been using on their own backend for forever, back when it was called Transmail. Um, and it's now released for the public here.
Mhm.
And then last but definitely not least, it's a good day to have Josh on the call here. We've got the 2023 release projection one, kind of a teaser. Is there going to be two? This is for Zoho Creator. Um, First off, big credit to the creator team. I think something that can draw some ire, there's a vocab word for you, from Zoho users is lack of roadmaps. People don't always know exactly what's going to go on, what's going to be listed in the future. So they've actually created here a proper roadmap. Um, Really cool, all about creator. I don't know if you've had a chance, Josh, to kind of dig through any of these, but does anything stand out?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's quite a
Oh, yeah.
few updates in here, and you can see the versions they apply to. Some of these only apply to Creator 6. Most of them do still apply to Creator 5, but eventually you will want to upgrade to Creator 6. And there's quite a few in here. If you kind of just scroll down the screen, I can walk through a little bit. Um,
Hmm.
keep
Oh,
going.
they've
Yeah, there
got
we
full
go.
breakdowns on them.
Yeah, they
Cool.
got full breakdowns on each one of these items and when they're going to be launched. So, one cool one here is global variables in Deluge. That's an
Hmm.
important one. Instead of creating a separate module to hold just a variable, now you're going to be
Mhm.
able to manage these variables at a global scale across all of your apps. So you would go
Nice.
into settings, add in your global variable, and that would apply to all your apps, and you'd be able to reference those. One example is for our creator, or inside of our portal, we have a field that denotes our brand color as an hex
Mm,
code. And I use that in so many different apps. So be able to set that as a
yeah.
global variable would be really
Or like
nice.
a books organization ID, right?
Yes.
Like you need to include it for every single call, right?
Yep.
And you just pull it directly from there. That's really
Yeah.
nice.
Activity-based user filters, another really nice one. So you can see on your back end what the activity is for your users and do some filtering there.
Hmm.
Um, AI model, one more AI model assistant for creating apps from files. I thought this was a really cool
Ooh.
one. Maybe you have an Excel sheet with multiple tables within that sheet, and you have lookup fields within your tables. You can import that entire document into the creator import tool when you're
Yeah.
creating the app. And ideally, it's going to use some AI model assistant to make those connections, build out those various models and or modules, and then import that data as well. So
That's awesome.
very excited to play
Even
around
something
with
like
that
that,
one.
even if it just gets you like 80% there, it's still going to save you so much time, right? And you just
Yes.
go through and make any adjustments that you need.
Yeah.
A cool one coming out later. This is only for C6 or Creator 6 is Canvas Builder. That's been
Hmm.
something that the creator guru at the company, one of the only things in Creator that you just can't really customize is what the form looks like, right? You can create crazy custom pages with HTML and CSS, but that form is just going to look like that form. And there's very little that you can do. So this will be a
So
really
this
nice one to kind of plug
This
that
is a
gap.
Canvas builder is actually not for forms, it's for report building. So whenever you are
Oh,
looking at a report, you are able to build that canvas to basically make it a very pretty report. They do have a lightweight canvas builder now, but I'm hoping that this update is going to be more in line with the uh, functionality that you have within the CRM canvas builder. But we'll see. That's going to be for Creator 6 only. There was
Got
one
it.
other one that you scrolled by pretty quick, and that was the email analytics, advanced email analytics
There
there.
we go.
I mentioned that earlier with how it connects to ZeptoMail, but when you're sending out emails from Creator, right now you don't have the ability to know when someone opens or responds to
Ah,
that email. And now in Creator 6, they're going to bring that functionality, and tying that in with ZeptoMail, you'll be able to have reports on whether or not that email has been opened, responded to, and ideally, we'd be able to trigger a workflow rule on a response or an open. I'm not sure if that functionality is going to exist, but you'll at least have the reporting features there.
very cool.
And then one of the
Awesome.
other big ones that they have coming up, if you go down, it's the keep going. Yeah, I don't really care too much about these. Application menu is one. So in Creator, we have our application bar at the top or on the left, however you choose your theme.
Mhm.
But the update to Creator 6 is going to allow for more customization and maybe
Mm,
organizing different hierarchies. Hopefully, we
yeah,
could do multiple hierarchies where you choose one and then choose another and then maybe a third. Um, so that's going to be a big update. I'm not sure how that's going to look, but hopefully that gives more flexibility with building out those. And then probably the biggest update is the revamped Deluge editor within Creator. I already love the Deluge editor and Creator as opposed to the CRM, but they're going to make it even better. It looks like they are going to enable smart detecting of errors while you're coding. So you won't even
that's
have to
nice.
run and execute the script. It'll just tell you what's wrong and even
Hey,
highlight it.
dum-dum, you missed a semicolon.
Yeah,
That's what it would be
exactly.
telling me all the time.
Yeah, and it's going to even highlight it and point out maybe in certain spots where you need to update that code. Additional
Mm,
shortcuts so you can perform actions quickly. Full screen mode in case you have a smaller info tab or some of the other information. Just open that
nice.
up in a full screen. And then I think the last one, well, just more enhancements to the scripting experience. But I'm excited to see how that's going to look.
Yeah. And I do just love the idea of getting a roadmap out. I don't want to harp on it forever, but it's something that for people who use these apps all the time, right? Like the knowing what's coming down the pipeline is just a huge value add for us. So big shout out to the creator team. Again, good day to have Josh on the list here because he is kind of the creator guy. Highly recommend if you are not subscribed to the newsletter, go ahead and do that. You'll get a link to this directly to your inbox. And then as well, check out on the website. We've got links to all these different stories because there's obviously even more here that we didn't cover on this update. But I think with that, we should be ready here to get on into our implementation of the week. Alrighty, so this is an implementation here built by Jason on our team, actually one of our newer developers who recently joined. The goal of this implementation, in essence, was to build a scheduled function for managing renewing services, right? So the kind of the goal here, right, is this client provides managed services. Some of the services that they provide are kind of like a recurring revenue stream. Others are just product term things that don't auto renew. And the challenge was essentially what they were doing is pulling reports basically every day, every week on renewing services that had passed their renewal or expiration date, and then manually going through, kind of updating those records, sending the email notifications, right? Managing all of those steps about the renewal. Um, what the client kind of realized is that, well, a lot of these things could probably just be scripted out. So what we went ahead and did is we built out a scheduled function. The function's first goal was basically just to find all of the services that are flagged as renewable, where that renewal date is today, right? And then it looks at a different field on the record that defines if it should renew every 3, every 6, or every 12 months. And then it will basically create the new renewal date that will become the next renewal for that product. And then based on those dates, right, when a renewal date is, 10 days away, 5 days away, we can then automate email communications going out, right? So, hi Jason, your server rack with the serial number 12345 is going to have a renewing payment in 5 days. Let us know if you need any changes. Right. So as these dates are being updated automatically on the back end, all of those notifications can be properly automated on the front end so that really for any of these products that are auto renewing, we're not really having to do much work, right, to get that renewal processed. Really, as long as the customer doesn't reach out and request any changes or request a cancellation, on the CRM side, everything is just going to happen automatically. Right. So at the end of the day, some of our implementations are big, crazy things. Some of them solve for these core kind of point problems where we're just saving some manual labor that has to be done really regularly. And now the client can use that time every week to do something else. Right. And that's always kind of the goal. For these processes where the same thing needs to happen every single time, why not take a crack at automating it? So big shout out for Jason on this one. Client was super stoked to have this done. Big goal for this client is always just getting time back in the day. So this will save him a little bit of pain and suffering here for a process he was doing pretty darn often, right? Managing these renewals.
Yeah, good job, Jason.
Yeah, big shout out for that one. I guess now our next step here would be to move on to our code share of the week. Alrighty. So this one here added by our illustrious director of Zoho development, Greg Belknap, with a beautiful beard here in this screenshot. So this is a code share, I think, Josh, that was actually given to us by Zoho support.
Mhm.
In essence, we wanted to be able to attach a file to a Zoho Books estimate so that it can actually be sent out along with the email for that estimate. Does that sound about right?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I think the trick here is the set params name to attachment, and that's uh, just a little function you can add to a downloaded PDF. So in the script here, he has just a sample URL that links to a public PDF, and then the next line down is an invoke URL to temporarily download that PDF. And then after downloading it, within the function, you're setting param name to attachment. That's the
Mm,
key to make the file import work. And so
got it.
within the result URL, invoke URL, you can see files colon res that's pulling in from the newly formatted downloaded attachment.
Got it. Got it. And again, this is one of those things sometimes when you're writing deluge code and it just isn't working and you reach out to support and they say, well, have you set param name yet? You're like, where's that? Does that show up
Yeah.
in any documentation anywhere? So kudos to Greg for hunting and pecking, kind of finding this. I'm sure the dev team helped out as well, whoever was kind of building this out. But again, one of those things, check out Club Zenatta. It's at club.zenatta.com. Get over there, register for the forum, right? It's free. All that it does is basically a place where you can ask questions, hopefully get answers, a place where we post code shares just like this. So that if you were trying to do this yourself, you don't have to bang your head into the wall like we do to figure some of these things out. So yeah, go
Yeah,
over
we'll
there and
do that.
join. It's worth the time. If you are a Zoho nerd, join the club.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And I think from there, we can jump on into our read of the week. Alrighty, so this read here coming from CRM Buyer. We haven't used these guys for a read in a while. We used to use Dennis Pombryant's stuff all the time back in the day. Great writer about CRM in general, what it takes to implement it, what it takes to use it. And he's got one that I think, this is tailor made for kind of how we approach a lot of our software implementations. The article name here is Iterate, Don't Fail. And really, the high level idea is that, the goal when you're doing software development, whether it's CRM or otherwise, obviously, we're kind of thinking in the CRM perspective a bit. Um, a lot of the times when we're talking to clients about kind of our process, a common thing that they'll hear is that we want to get a V1 in front of you and get feedback early, right? Because if we're on the wrong track, let's figure that out 1 week in, 2 weeks in, not 2 months in,
Mhm.
so that we're able to pivot and adjust. But anything kind of stand out for you on this one, Josh, in particular?
Nothing in particular, but it's definitely the way we approach our dev is kind of go start high level and make sure we're on the right track, and then loosely build out some frameworks, and then dive in deeper as you can move forward. Um, yeah, and that way you're preventing yourself going down a rabbit hole where you might be going down the wrong path, and uh, yeah, having that opportunity to take a step back, re kind of reset and ask the client where you are, or ask yourself if this is the right path, and then iterating
Mhm.
from there is the best way forward, at least for
Yeah.
us.
And it can be challenging. I mean, they kind of point out something that's key to, I think, a lot of change in general is that people are resistant to it. And doing a more iterative approach means more changes happening more frequently, right? So, Drew Brockbank, one of our senior consultants, uses the term big bang implementation a lot. And that's where we try to avoid. And that's kind of like we gather a bunch of requirements, we go into a dark room for 6 months, and then we roll out a massive system change for you. One of the benefits of that, though we don't like to do it, is that you really only need to train your users once, hypothetically, right? And we know that's not really the case, but hypothetically, you would only need to train your users that one time. Whereas a more iterative approach, you might have changes being deployed weekly, every other week, a couple times a month, whatever that flow is. So it does kind of stress people's resistance to change a little bit, but those changes are more incremental, right? So it's not a full reset on the way they live their life and do their job. It's just these incremental tools and values that are being added. So good write up there. Quick one from Dennis. We haven't used his writing here in a while, but definitely a good read and something to consider if you're going down the path of doing software implementation is which way might work better for you. Our vote is iterate. Take it slow, take it bite sized, and take it in versions. I think with that, we are now ready to get over to what's new on Zenatta.com. Alrighty, looks like we've got a rare double header here. We have 2 articles posted for this week. One of these here, new year, new resume. Kind of a quick write up here about some best practices around how to create your resume, anything that you might want to highlight and flaunt. A couple things around how to highlight skills and the design. And then we gave a couple recommendations here. Notice here, no Zoho plug even, just some useful tools that can help you create a noticeable resume. um, you know, Obviously at the end of the day, resume should just be that thing that you're trying to use to get the interview. From there on out, hopefully, it becomes less important, but it's that one page ad, right, Josh, for who you are as a professional. So
Yeah.
never a bad thing to
One
keep it up to date.
One tool I would even probably recommend adding to this list is ChatGPT. And there's a bunch of
Mhm.
different articles for how ChatGPT can actually help create bios or cover letters specifically for your job. So that's probably one I would add. But these other five are really good tools as well to build that out and to search for people to connect with.
Yeah, awesome. And then read number 2 here. I guess no, I take it back. There's one little plug for Zoho. If you're on the recruiting side, check out Zoho Recruit. So we did sneak one. Got to always sneak one in there. And then article number 2 here is a year in review for Zenatta. So obviously 2022, a long year, but a great year for the Zenatta team. Like to always start it off with our Christmas picture here. I will highlight that some of our Brazilian team members made fun of us because they had beautiful, perfect weather while we were all in snowstorms. So you'll see a couple tropical looking gentlemen here with their backgrounds and sunglasses. But another great year. Added about 180 clients, 7 new awesome employees. Made, as I'm sure most of you know, an absolute boatload of content here on YouTube, the website, our blogs, the podcast, really everything. So onward and upward. We really appreciate. I mean, a lot of these things are you guys, the viewers and listeners, who kind of support and help us do what we do in terms of our growth and our watch time and subscribers. We really, really appreciate it. Obviously, it's a labor of love making a lot of this content for everybody, but we really appreciate your ongoing support and the fact that we're able to help you out in your Zoho journey.
Yeah. And another big shout out to the whole Zanata team. We look at just go back up to the faces there. Look how beautiful that team is. Wonderful. Yeah. I think we're up to 22 employees now. And yeah, we couldn't
Yep,
do this without every single one of them. And appreciate all of them.
absolutely. Alrighty, and I think last one here before our Q&A is going to be our tip of the week. Alrighty, over here on YouTube, where Freddie does not adjust my saturation, so I look very ghoulish and pasty. I've put together a quick video here for our tip of the week on pre-filling Zoho forms. We get asked this all the time, right? How do I get a form out to somebody that includes some information that we already have on them, right? I used kind of a silly example here, but was like confirm your favorite color, right? But we've already got their name, phone, email, and what we have chosen. So how would we send them a form that has all of that information already filled out, where all they need to do is update anything and submit it? So a quick video, about 10 minutes, kind of runs through two main sections. First of which is actually coming in and setting up the field aliases that will allow you to, pre-fill data. And then the second half here actually gets into in the CRM, how we go about creating a link that will pull in that data on a contact by contact basis as we send it out. So yeah, really do hope this video is useful for you guys. As always, if you do like what we're doing, or if you are the Zoho person for your company or team, highly recommend checking out our YouTube channel over at youtube.com/Zenatta. Obviously a like and subscribe goes a long way. Make sure that our video stays in your, the black magic of the algorithmic feed that YouTube will show you. So check it out. If you find it useful, give it a subscribe. We really appreciate it. And we will continue to make oodles and oodles of content for you all throughout 2023. And I think with that, we are ready to jump into our Q&A. Alrighty, so question number one here from Vaporware. Also, we have a lot of questions today. So the show title Z's and Q's kind of refers to the fact that I think we've got like 10 of these. So we will try to be brief if we can. So quick question here from Vaporware. How can I get my Facebook and other social media contacts into my Begin platform? I was doing a bit of poking around. I don't know if you know any differently, Josh, but I didn't see a direct integration for like Zoho Social. So you might end up needing to use like Flow or some like form submissions to get data into Begin. With Zoho CRM, you can plug it directly into Zoho Social, and then those leads will come across. But I know that like Facebook lead ads can post webhooks and run through Flow, so you might just need to use a bit of middleware to get those over to Begin.
Biggin is probably one of those apps I spend the least amount of time in. So yeah, I don't have much input on that one.
Just missing some of those integrations, right? It has a many, but there's a few that just don't make it across the line.
Yeah.
So there's a question from Halo 2 Bullseye. Love the name. Looks nice. However, it irks. This is about our CRM full product overview. Irks me how much open effort there is to track a client's interaction. Feels like a minor disconnect. Like people are just something to extract money from. Why is this the focus? It's a good question. We thought about taking this one out, but we thought it would be an interesting one to answer. There's two sides to this. One of the sides is obviously a CRM is designed to increase the amount of revenue that you can make from leads and contacts, right? It's absolutely a like revenue basis for implementing CRM. But I think it would be a little bit, I think there's more to it than just trying to make money, right? So by tracking these client interactions, you can use that data to provide better service, right? So knowing that a phone call happened a week ago could surely help you sell, but it could also help you support. So I don't think it's strictly about extracting money. There's definitely an element of that. It's a sales tool, right? And it's a home base for marketing. But I don't know if you have any other thoughts on that, Josh. But I think there's two sides to the coin when it comes to CRM.
Yeah, I mean, I think the entire purpose of a CRM is to track a client's interactions. So, like you said, for sales, marketing, for support specifically, in our case, we need to know what they've purchased in the past, what hour logs have been completed in the past, and having that in a nice, convenient CRM is certainly the best tool we have to provide the best support. And
Yeah.
then obviously being able to see related invoices or any other things that might be related to that client is very important.
Yeah. And I think it's that thing, right? The goal, Mr. Halo, is to build out the like the virtuous loop, right? That if you use those client interactions to provide more value at the right time to the right people that are in your list, then you will end up making more money. But ideally, incentives are aligned, and you're making that money because you're using this data to provide valuable experiences, services, products, etc. So yeah, good question. But I think there's definitely two sides to that coin. Another question here from Desi Boys on our video, why bots in Zoho Click are a game changer. Question is, after bots, we will not need to configure email in Zoho CRM and other things? Yes and no. If I'm understanding the question correctly, with bots, right, you can replace a lot of like internal email notifications, right? Like we at Zenatta, right, anything that we use automation to notify our team, it's generally always going to go through Click. And so you can kind of skip certain internal email notifications, but I wouldn't say you don't need to configure email at all, because you're still going to use email to talk to your customers and your leads, hopefully just not for like internal communication.
Right. Yeah, and also having a historical list of those emails uh, associated to that contact is another important reason why you would want to set up email within the CRM.
Perfect. Question here from Sanda on our video, how to import anything into Zoho CRM tutorial. This is a funny one. We need like an asterisk on this video title now. Sanda astutely asked the question, how do I import or how do I mass import images into Zoho CRM? You cannot. So we do need an asterisk. That is one thing you cannot import into Zoho CRM. Um, Senda, like there's a path where you could do this, but it is very technically intensive. You'd basically need to end up with like a database somewhere, probably not in Zoho, of images and record IDs, and then you could like loop through them to add them, but it's not a quick thing to do.
And if there's a will, there's a way. Technically, you could throw them all in a work drive folder and label them with the ID of the record, and then we could run a scheduled function to grab all of those and associate them. But technically involved, absolutely.
Yeah, not a drag and drop, unfortunately. But good call out, because we did use the word anything, and that is one thing that does not quite go in perfectly. Here's a question on our Zoho One full product overview from 2022. Thanks for the amazingly thorough review, guys. We appreciate that. We hope to do it again here in about a month. So the question is, I was hoping to use Zoho inventory and books for a food manufacturing business, sandwiches, salads, burritos, wraps, etc. Lots of ingredients, recipes, nutrition info, labor costs. So they're asking, do you happen to know of an ERP software that could integrate accounting, production, database, ingredients, all the different things, by day or by order? I mean, honestly, CA, we always try to be, direct with things like this. I I would hesitate to lock in the choice of Zoho inventory for what you're doing. There probably are a lot of tools that are pre-made to manage exactly what you're talking about, right? So I don't know any off the top of my head. The challenge with inventory is that it's not really an ERP in the traditional sense, in terms of like tracking labor costs and tracking things like that at a granular level. So I would hesitate. I know Cody, our kind of resident inventory guru, is in the chat, but I would have to imagine that the composite item matrix for all of those ingredients would be a bear and a half, and like your bundling process for allocating inventory is just, I don't know. I would have to think there's an off the shelf tool that could just do a lot of this for you, rather than trying to rebuild the wheel here in inventory.
Yeah, I think the only way you would be able to do this would be composite items. And in a composite item, you can add labor costs. You
Yeah.
can add the wrapper that or the packaging that you're using, and then all the individual ingredients. It would certainly be, depending on how many items you have, how many SKUs you have for those composites, it could be a little overwhelming, but it
On the
may be
challenge too is
possible.
like anytime anytime you would, like, let's say, make a sandwich, you would need to run a bundle action to decrease the inventory of raw materials and increase the inventory of the sandwich before you sell it. And
Mhm.
that whole piece, I mean, like, maybe you could automate that, but I don't know. I would hesitate maybe. You might be able to use other Zoho apps in the mix, but there's got to be something that you say, I made one of these, and it just does all this stuff for you in the background. And I don't know if inventory is going to do that. And last little
Mhm.
note, yeah, Cody's note here on this is just because we could make that work doesn't mean we should make that work. And I think that's a good way to roll that one up. Question here from Natalie Kate on our 2021 full product tutorial for inventory. So Cody, stay on the line here. Hi, can we select a different unit of specific product? For example, the basic unit is in kilograms, but on an invoice, it should show 200 kilograms, a 200 kilogram drum in the unit. And then on the stock ledger, it will deduct 200 kilograms. I don't think so. I think that you kind of have to pick the unit of measurement on the product level, and that's going to be the way that it measures. In the past, we've done this where like you have, let's say, an inventory item for 1 kilogram, and then you have a composite item that takes 200 of those, and you can roll it up into a drum, and then you sell that. So that might be the
Is it-
best way to do it, but you will have to manage like the bundling and the inventory movement between the like component kilogram and the composite kilogram drum. And yeah, Cody's saying you could likely automate the bundling, but it's just going to take some massaging and work there. And there he is. There's the man, the myth, the legend. Except his beard is about 2 inches longer than that image shows now. Let's see here. Another YouTube Q&A here. This is on our video, how to set up a calendar booking inside Zoho CRM. So this is not Zoho bookings. This is about the specific booking tool in CRM that is separate from that. Matt asked, can people pay for a booking and time slot? I don't think so. Do you know any differently, Josh? But I don't think CRM
I don't,
bookings lets us.
not in the CRM, but possibly in bookings. Is that the
Bookings you
case in
can.
bookings you can? Yeah.
In bookings, you
Uh,
can take a payment, but then you're using bookings and you got to worry about calendar syncs and all of that. But yeah, unfortunately, not through the native CRM bookings tool.
mhm.
All right, another YouTube Q&A here. This is on our video, sending an email campaign in Zoho Campaigns. DJ Noji asks, great content as always, thank you. Sorry if I missed this, but can you target different groups for different campaigns? You absolutely can. You would use segments and topics, right, to kind of create your different groupings and then only send your emails there. Maybe Freddie will take a note. We've got a bunch of videos on this. Maybe we can include a link or two in the comment response because we've got some stuff that will kind of walk through this process.
Yeah, segments are one of the big updates that campaigns released this year, and it makes it so easy to create a segment of contacts based on specific criteria. So
Yeah.
if you wanted all the contacts within this particular state or that have ordered this particular product, you can build that out using criteria inside of campaigns, and those are called segments. And
Yeah.
so what you just basically replace your groups to segments, and certainly that's possible.
Yeah. And then the trick would be, right, that you will need a topic assigned, right, to each segment before you can mail them. So a
Mhm.
couple steps, but once you do have it set up, it's great. I love the way that they've done segments and topics now. Another question here from YouTube on our video, how to set up scoring rules inside Zoho CRM. Monique asks, is the maximum score per rule 10 points? For example, if a visitor forms out a specific form on our website, I'd like to dedicate 40 points and kind of skip them to a hot lead. I tested this before. I didn't think the limit was 10, but it actually is. They do have a limit of 10. What you could do though is like if your form gets filled out, you could have a hidden field for reassigning the like lead status or whatever needs to happen to get them to inside sales, so that you're using your scoring for like the touches, the calls, the emails, but then you have like a fast track mode basically, where if this form gets filled in, they kind of skip forward outside of the scoring process. But good question. I wish that they did let us do more than 10 because it gets a little arbitrary when you can't go above that. But right now, that is the only options. Right. I think this is our two-part question here from Gene on our Shopify and Zoho full integration tutorial from back in 2020. Might be one that we need to redo. Um, they ask, can I use Zoho One as an ID provider for Shopify admin? Basically meaning, can someone use single sign-on where their Zoho login is being used to log into Shopify? Unfortunately, not. Zoho does have Zoho Directory, which can be used for single sign-on, but it's very limited in terms of what applications are supported. If you're using like Google or Outlook, both of those will probably have single sign-on options that will work for Zoho and Shopify.
Mhm.
I think this is part two. Any plans on creating an updated version of the Shopify and Zoho One integration? And I think, Josh, you were telling me earlier, they've definitely made some changes to this, I think, since our 2020 walkthrough. I
Yeah,
wouldn't hold your breath on single sign on, but they have definitely made some changes.
they haven't made a few. They have made a few changes. The last time I integrated it, which was I think just a month ago, less than 30 days ago, I was setting it up for my little tea business, and we have products inside of inventory. Those same products also exist in Shopify, but I added them first inside of inventory and then I set up the connection and everything worked just smoothly as far as making that connection between the items. I did have to make sure that the SKUs matched, but everything worked and connected just fine. The other update I saw was whenever an order is created and fulfilled inside of Shopify, it actually marks that order as fulfilled inside of inventory. It creates the shipment and package automatically, which was
Nice.
something new that I had not seen before. If you want to
Yeah.
create the invoice and the payment, that is another thing you would have to write an automation to do. But
Pretty
the at least you
straightforward.
can force fulfill it directly from Shopify.
Yeah. Nice. So yeah, Jean, to answer the question, yeah, it is getting updated regularly, but I would not hold my breath for single sign-on. It's just Zoho's a little behind there. They just don't have the network of connections that someone like Google or Office 365 is going to give you.
On the topic of point of sales, I wish, well, it's not really point of sale. We weren't talking about point of sale, but Shopify is a great point of sale system. I wish Zoho would release a point of sale for Zoho inventory or Zoho books. That would be just game changer. And
One of
then
those things that's like
obviously,
on the roadmap forever, to do it, that kind of like
yeah,
in-person selling, but it just is not, it's never made it out. I've heard about
yeah,
these betas and these things and all this work being done, but I've never seen anything on it. But yeah, I
yeah,
mean, a couple weeks ago, I was talking to a potential client, and I had to kind of advise them against Zoho because most of their sales were coming through POS systems, and it's like, if we
yeah,
can't make that work well, then I don't want to downgrade somebody.
yeah. They have
Um,
sites, but the next thing left is point of sale,
mhm.
which hopefully is on the roadmap soon.
Alrighty, next question here from YouTube from Praveen. This is on our video Zoho Project settings overview from 2022. Please let us know how to renumber our projects because once we delete the demo, our new project will continue with the next number. Please suggest how to correct it. If you get rid of it because when you delete a project, Josh, right, it goes to the archive. It doesn't actually delete, right, inside of projects, and you have to go into the archive and force the delete there. So it might just be it's sitting in the archive, Praveen. But otherwise, I don't know that you can like reset the numbering convention because it's always going to go. It can't duplicate it, so it can't use one that's already created.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe you could ask Zoho nicely, assuming you delete the archived records, but I don't think that's going to be possible.
Yeah, send a smiley face in the email to
Yeah.
support. See if they'll help you out. Question here from Amy on one of our recent CRM Zen shows for episode 231. So it's actually our year in review and the third annual Zenmies. She says, at 21 minutes in, you mentioned Trainer Central has issues with bandwidth. I was considering using this for a paid online course, but we'll need to reconsider if the platform isn't ready for prime time. Do you have an alternative recommendation? So yeah, correct. Right now, it is just not there. I mean, I know Josh, you were playing around with it, and we uploaded was it 720p or 1080p videos, and they were just choppy, unwatchable. Like it just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, they were
feature set is actually pretty
1080p
good.
and they dropped it down to 480. So it
Yeah,
was very hard and then the lag time on those was no, it wasn't going to work.
it just doesn't work. Yeah. So what? Because we're actually building something in kind of like a, not to spoil anything for the future here, but like kind of a paid course guided process type of thing. And we ended up picking Teachable. I think it was. We also tried what was the name? It started with the K, I think. There was one other that we tried but didn't have an
Kajabi.
API. Kajabi, yeah, that was a
Yep.
cool one, but there was no connectivity. So we
Yeah.
ended up landing on Teachable, Amy, as the one that we're going to use. I will highlight Zoho is aware of the bandwidth issues. We actually gave them some feedback on it, and they're working on those. I know their goal is to have that be something that is really ready for prime time. So if you're not launching this in the next couple months, it might be worth waiting and seeing. But otherwise, yeah, Teachable I think is where we landed, and it's pretty solid. Question here from Club Zenatta. Register at club.zenatta.com. This is from Lars. The question is, I think about leaving my third-party LMS and moving to Zoho Trainer Central. Topical. Unfortunately, it is not yet fully integrated with Zoho CRM, but this can be achieved via flow and general automation elements. Great to see your opinion and approach to using it and integrating with CRM. So Lars, our approach right now is that we're not using it just because of those video issues. The API is actually pretty great, though. I think, Josh, you'd kind of dug into that. Tons
Yeah.
of triggers, tons of ways to get data out. So it really just depends on what you want to do with it, right? Where you want it to go.
Yeah, it is better than Kajabi as far as integrations to the CRM, and that's why we were looking at Trainer Central originally. You would need to use Zoho Flow to make the connection, but there are a bunch of different trigger points you can use. As an alternative, Trainer Teachable also does have a very open API, maybe a little bit more so than Trainer Central, and you can also trigger webhooks directly from Teachable. So that's one of the big reasons why we switched. It also has a better UI, and you can customize the HTML a little better. But as far as Trainer Central goes, there is an API. You would need to use Zoho Flow, and I don't believe there is open. There's no webhook possibility with Trainer
Yeah.
Central. So just keep that in mind. You are limited to those triggers that they give you in Flow.
And then, yeah, I mean, in terms of opinion and approach to integrating it, you'd probably end up with some type of course module, contact module, maybe a course registration module. You're kind of writing to there via the flow integration, but that gets into just depending on what follow-ups you need, how you monetize, blah, blah, blah. But there's lots of places that you can end up pointing that. A question here from Ernie, topical to have you on because you actually have been playing with Shopify integration. So longer question, I'll kind of do the brief mode. So he's been using Zoho inventory for a few months, using purchase orders, selling through there, feeling pretty good about it. Now he wants to roll out Shopify. He's probably seen some of our old content where we're talking about the fact that you have to create everything in inventory first. So he's asking, kind of in short, am I screwed? Do I need to redo everything? Or am I going to be able to turn this on after the fact? And I think the answer now, Josh, is yes, you're fine as long as your SKUs match.
You should be good to go. If you have the items inside of Shopify first and they're syncing over to inventory, then you need to go into your items, click on unconfirmed items, and just confirm them. You'll also have that option within the Shopify sync settings. Otherwise, if you have your items created in inventory first and you also have them created in Shopify, turning on the integration will make that connection as long as those SKUs match.
Nice. And then last little question here at the bottom was, can I set up CRM later? Yeah, no big deal. You can always set it up later, and you can always push all your data over to it.
Yes.
Live chat question here from Brett Martin. That name seems familiar. I can't place where I know. Is your former client? Brett says hello from St. Kitts. Nice implementation. So a little belated shout out there for Jason. Great job on that. And he's a big fan. That's odd. Didn't seem like this would be up his alley. Alrighty, I think that wraps it up for the show this week. If you do have any follow-up questions for us, please be sure to jump over to zenatta.com and drop us a line there. As well, be sure to join our community over at club.zenatta.com. It is free, it is useful, it is the place to be. So take a look.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes as well as show notes. And we'd love to see you on our next show next week. Follow us on our favorite social media platforms and subscribe to us on YouTube. Thanks for watching.
Not so easy, is it? That outro, man. Every week
No,
it
it's
gets
not.
me.
Yeah.
It's the way. It's the saying
Freddie
of
specifically
podcasting
told
now.
us. Freddie told us to crack enough jokes. You think we cracked enough jokes? I don't know if we did. We're
Hopefully,
nerds.
yeah, we're not very funny guys, so he'll have to work some Hollywood magic. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great weekend.